What's up, YouTube? And welcome to my pickups video for the month of August 2020. Overall, I had a little bit of a lighter month this month. Didn't do a whole lot of travel. I went to one little trip, got away for a weekend, and went to Nashville, Tennessee. Really, the highlight of that trip was to get a chance to visit the Game Galaxy Arcade, of which I've already made a video about. So if you haven't taken a look at that, and you would like arcade games, highly recommend you check that video out just to see the tour I did at the arcade. Overall, though, the game hunting there was a little light. They do have a few game stores there, but really didn't find either a whole lot of stuff I was looking for or just not a whole lot of things that interested me in the heat of the moment. So I'll show you a few things I got from that trip in this video. Overall, online purchases were a little slow this month too, but I did do quite a bit more game playing this month. So I really focused in on some PS4 games that I'm going to show you as part of this video. So with that said, let's go ahead and kick it off. The bulk of the stuff I got this month is for Sony systems, and as I was putting everything together, I realized I kind of have a nice cross-section of just about all the Sony platforms, with the exception of the PSP. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at what I got for those Sony systems, along with some other things along the way. First thing in the video I'm going to show you, I already have covered in one of my prior videos. This is Hard Trilogy for the PS1. I went ahead and made a video on the full light gun set for the PS1 also this month, so again, another shout out to a video you can check out if you haven't. But this was actually the last piece I needed for that subset. This game is very common overall, but what I've noticed is the greatest hits version of this is much more plentiful in game stores, and I was looking for the first print of this. This is one of the light gun games that supports the Justifier gun, but not the Namco Gun Con 2. So, and that's just for one of the modes inside the game. There's also like an action game that's included in this that uses just the standard controller. You can use the mouse with this one too, which is kind of cool, but overall just really picked this up because it was the last piece of that subset of PS1 light gun compatible games I needed. Another game I got based on viewer feedback, I had a couple people over the last couple months chime in about this one. In my last video I picked up Road Trip Arcade Edition for the GameCube, and I knew that was a part of the Koro Q series. I also knew that I'd watched a recent video on this on PS2, really praising it for being a car PG and having a lot of really deep gameplay stuff as part of the Koro Q selection. Where I was corrected in my prior video is that the GameCube title, even though it has the same artwork as this, is not the same game in the series. It's a different member of the Koro Q series. So ultimately, since that video, I have sold my GameCube version and bought the PS2 version, which is truly what is the one I was looking for in the start. Really cool game, really enjoying it. I love the authentic licensed cars that are included in this, but they're all in this super deformed mode, and the car PG stuff is pretty unique and, you know, really ahead of the game, I would say, for this era of PS2, you know, quote, racing games. So really enjoying this one. You can get this game pretty cheap. It does actually go for less than that GameCube version, and would highly recommend this now that I've had a chance to dive in. If you haven't already, please check out the Retro Pals video that they did on this. Really turned me on to the series a little bit more than what I knew on the surface level, and especially around this game. So can highly recommend it based on that. Moving on to the next level of PlayStation systems, I'm going to talk about a PS3 game. This is Virtua Tennis 4, and what I can tell you is I was a huge fan of Virtua Tennis 1 and 2 on the Dreamcast. I knew they had that Naomi arcade route to them. Really just great pick-up and play games, regardless of whether you're a sports game fan or a tennis game fan. They're really easy and addictive to get into, and I really liked all the mini-games that were part of those series. What I can tell you, though, is after that, the series kind of just lost interest for me. I played a couple of other games in the series. I think one of them was on the Wii, and ultimately didn't grab me the same way as the earlier ones did. Down the road, I got this game on the Vita, and actually re-sparked my energy in the series. Had a lot of what I liked about the originals, and was enhanced nicely. And went ahead and grabbed it on PS4 as well. I haven't dove into the PS3. I haven't dove into this version yet to see if it has much differences from the Vita, but very nice to have this on home console as well, since I did like it on the Vita. So that being said, looking forward to diving into this one a little bit further, but I would say if you liked the earlier Virtua Tennis games and they got a little disenchanted from the franchise, this is probably a pretty good one to get. As far as I know, this was the last one in the series too. I think it kind of died out after this point, so maybe Sega will bring the series back at some point, but nice to have this one. Moving on to the Vita, I also got one game for that system as well. I don't buy a whole lot of Vita games, but there's a few that kind of seem like they keep getting mentioned in videos that I feel like I need to check out. So I did pick up The Sony first-party game Gravity Rush. I've heard a lot about this game. It was funny because I got this game like 2 weeks ago and then saw it featured in the newest GameSack video that just came out this last weekend. So looking forward to diving into this one. I know there's also a like limited PS4 version of this that's come out since then. But since this game was originally like built for the Vita, I'd like to check it out on that platform first. So nice to have that in my Vita. It's very small but interesting Vita collection. Next we're going to move on to PS4 games, and this is really where I've spent my time over the last month playing games. The first one of these is one that I missed out on when it first came out. I figured it was just going to have a big price drop, and ultimately it never really did. And that is Ys 8, and the subtitle I think is Lacrimosa of Dana or Donna. I'm not sure exactly how you say that. I've liked the Ys series since the early TurboGrafx entries and some of the other platforms that it came out on. Ultimately, I've lost a little bit of the energy around the series, again, kind of as it went on in numerous sequels. But this one just kind of was a curiosity. This one came out on the Vita as well, and basically both of them are about impossible to find, it seems like, in game stores. This game has spiked to over $100 online all of a sudden, and I got very lucky. One of my local stores actually just happened to get it in at a good price. But did enjoy it. I popped it in, played it quite a bit over the weekend, and it kept me up late one night, so I guess that's always a good sign when a game can do that. Really just good, solid action RPG gameplay. It has, you know, just some modern enhancements, I guess, to keep up with the times and graphics and things like that. I will say the characters in it so far are a little bit bland, but maybe they'll open up a little bit more as the gameplay progresses, and we'll see where it goes from there. So the other thing I think is interesting about this is this was released as a Day 1 edition, and honestly I don't think there is a Day 2 edition. I think they all are Day 1 editions. So it does have reversible artwork. If you don't like that Day 1 banner, you can flip it to the other way, but just thought that was interesting that I don't think NIS ever repressed this game. So nice to have this in the collection. And I guess the other thing I would mention is I think Ys 9 is just about to come out. I think it is out in Japan. So I might get that one Day 1. We'll see. Just especially because this one got so hard to find after the fact. Let's talk about the games I was most excited to get for the PS4 that I have been waiting for forever. So these were a botched release by Strictly Limited Games. These are the Darius collections for the PS4, and they're called Darius Cosmic Collection, and you're going to see both entries in this series that I picked up this month. These I ordered in November 2019. And I know with some of these limited release games that, you know, release schedules can change and things like that, but it got completely out of hand with these releases to the point that I thought that the company was going to go out of business and never ship them. What's kind of scary is they are a European company that's very closely related to Innen Games of Germany, I believe. And Innen has signed an exclusivity agreement with Taito, so unfortunately looks like I'm going to be stuck dealing with Innen and Strictly Limited in the future for all my Taito fix. But I will say, now that I have these games, after delay after delay after delay and excuse after excuse, I am very happy with this first one especially. This is the arcade collection, so it's the first of the two I'm going to show you. This one has the original Darius, Darius 2, as well as Darius Gaiden. But it also has multiple different variants of each arcade board included on the disc. M2 handled the conversion, and I think we all know for arcade conversions that's really a very good sign of quality. They did a really nice job on this. I think what is really worth picking it up for is the Darius arcade game, the original, is presented in its triple screen widescreen mode. Something we've never had, as far as I know, on a console before. So really neat to see that on a widescreen TV. It does give you some nice effects to make it like the arcade game, which I have played that triple screen arcade game. It even has a mode where you can set like the brightness of the three screens to have some variation between them, which really gives you more of a realistic experience of what the arcade game's like. But really enjoyed this pack. I think, that being said, it's not perfect. What's interesting about it to me is even in the menu screens, it acknowledges that Darius 2 was released in a 3-screen version, which was a conversion for the Darius 1 cabinets. But for some reason, they only included the single screen and the dual screen versions of the board on this disc. So you don't get the true experience of Darius 2 in its best form, which I think was kind of a miss. The other thing I find interesting about this is Darius Gaiden is presented very well, but it's missing G Darius, which was the 4th arcade entry in the series, and really would have fit perfectly on this disc. I don't see why they left that one off. So little bit of a mixed bag as far as some of the features, but the presentation on this one is top-notch. M2 enabled a crazy amount of options to please anybody's interest as far as scan lines and visibility options, gameplay options, things like that. So it also presents the Japanese and the world versions of the board, so you can play whatever your preferred market is, and even Darius 2 is presented as Sagaya for overseas markets. So enough said about this one, but really happy with this pack. Just wish it hadn't taken so long. And for Switch owners out there, this game came out on the Switch a long time ago, so for PS4 owners, it's been a long journey. The second one that also came at the same time is this pack. This is the Darius Cosmic Collection console. So this one focuses on console releases of the Darius series. This one really is strange to me. Strictly Limited actually sold this game at a higher price than the arcade disc, and to me this one has much less value overall, especially if you're going to release Arcade Perfect or near about versions on the other disc. This one has, you know, conversions for systems like the PC Engine, even the Sega Master System for Sagaya, as well as the Genesis version. It also has some of the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom exclusive Darius releases that were not arcade games, like Darius Twin and Supernova. But ultimately, I guess because I have almost all of that stuff already, I didn't really see the need to rebuy them on this. But, you know, I had to have it just because I'm a Taito fanboy. Really like this pack, though. I guess as far as the presentation options, all the same things I said about the other one hold true here. It does also have the PC Engine, Darius Plus, and Darius Alpha, which were pretty limited releases. So, you know, much better than tracking down the physical format of those, just due to how much those two go for. But happy to get this one as well. I think, again, all of these games could have easily fit on one disc, but, you know, they have to make that limited game company money, I guess. So happy to get these. I don't even think they're sold out now, so to be honest, if you don't want to go through all the pain and torture that I did to wait for these, you could probably just order them right now from the website and get it no problem. But very happy these games actually materialized, and we'll see what other further Taito releases come down the pike. Hopefully some more by me supporting this. So enough said about the PlayStation series consoles that I bought games for. We're going to look at some Nintendo stuff I got this month. Not a whole lot. This was part of that Nashville trip, so I did get a copy of Parasol Stars for the Game Boy. This one's interesting to me for a few reasons. So number one, this game is not a US release. This was a Euro release, and I don't know if there was a Japanese release of it or not. So it was weird to find it in the wild in Nashville for starters. Parasol Stars is kind of the weird entry of the Bubble Bobble series in that it's technically Bubble Bobble 3, so it came after the first one in Rainbow Islands. But this one never got an arcade release, so it was directly released for the PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16. And then this Game Boy version is actually a conversion that was done by the European company Ocean. So really strange that this game seemed to have a bigger following in Europe. It sounds like it was on, you know, computers. My European followers can probably fill me in if this game has a big following there. Ultimately in the US, people don't know this game very well because it only came out on TurboGrafx 16 and it was a pretty limited release by Working Designs. But overall, this conversion holds up pretty good. It has, you know, the gameplay is down pretty solid compared to the TurboGrafx version I have. It has these weird, like, intermissions in between levels that aren't necessarily true to the console release, but still very nice to have this on the Game Boy. I don't really see why this game couldn't have come out in the US. I think if you look at some of the shovelware that was coming out, this would have been a nice welcome release at the time. But happy to get this, and very strange, again, like I said, to find this just in the wild at a game store. Another thing I did find in a game store this month was a complete-in-the-box SpiderMan for N64. Not necessarily a game I was looking for. I already own this on the PS1 as well as the Dreamcast. But a couple things interested me about this. It did kind of lure me in with that cool red cartridge that it comes on. And then I really, since I just recently got the expansion pack for the N64, I'm kind of interested in getting some more expansion pack compatible games. This game, what I noticed with that is, especially on the menu screens, it really does a nice job of smoothing the graphics as compared to without it. I decided to actually do a side-by-side just to check it out. When you get to the actual gameplay, though, it gets pretty foggy and N64-y regardless, so I can't say that it improves it all that much in the actual gameplay. Being familiar with this game on disc-based systems, it actually looked like a big step back to see this on the cartridge format, because you lose all the cutscenes that came with the CD games. What they did with that is they just hit some of the key points of the cutscenes and put them in single-panel comic book style panels in between levels and things like that. So I guess they did the best they could with what they had, but overall this is probably not the best version of this game. But happy to have something else in my N64 collection that at least supports the expansion pack. So that's all I can really say for that one. Another game I got, was kind of a big hole in my GameCube collection, was the original Beautiful Joe. I've owned the sequel to this one for probably 10 or 15 years, but for some reason I never bought the original, and I was always curious about it. A couple things that interest me about this one is it does have that little, like, only for GameCube logo on it. I know this game was originally built with the GameCube in mind. It actually has some Nintendo references built into the gameplay. But it's interesting because, I guess due to low sales on this one, or because they saw an opportunity, Capcom actually released this game on the PS2 also, just it came out much later. So I'm sure this is truly the definitive version of the game, but just kind of funny that this game ended up being a multi-platform release. Overall, cool action game. I played it a little bit. Ultimately, I'm still, again, more familiar with Part 2, but nice to have this one in the collection, and again, just kind of seemed like one of those games that was really built with the GameCube in mind. It had a lot of hype around it when it originally came out, I remember, but ultimately I don't know if it sold all that well, so I don't even really know if the character is still alive in any Capcom franchises today, but kind of interesting that that was one of their mascot characters they were really pushing at the time. So that's it for the games this month. I've got just a couple other things to show you that are gaming related. One thing I got on that Nashville trip was a PS1 memory card that was a color scheme that I really probably had never seen before. And it's this kind of extreme green color that I guess I would liken that to the color Nintendo was using on some of their Game Boys and N64 controllers at the time. This is a licensed Sony PS1 memory card. It's just a color I'd never really seen before, and I think this did come out in the US, unless it's possibly a Japanese one. But ultimately, I probably needed some more PS1 storage anyway, and that color swayed me pretty quickly when I saw it in the store. It really stood out on the shelf. So nice to have an interesting PS1 memory card to add to the collection. This next thing I just got over the last weekend locally at Half Price Books, and I didn't really need it by any means, but I decided to go ahead and grab it just to how weird it was to see on the shelf in 2020, and that is a new in the box Wiimote for the Wii. Why I know this has never been touched is it has the original batteries inside that expired in 2012. Luckily shrink wrapped so they're not exploding all over it, but and they're separated from the Wiimote itself. But all the original packaging is there on the inside. Just really funny to me to see this in a store, and it was marked as just a plain used one. So I decided, maybe if one of mine ever conks out, it'd be nice to have a backup. And just, nice to see one in perfect condition, I guess I should say. This is also before they started putting the condoms on the Wiimotes, so it doesn't have that either. So you can, play this one unprotected if you really want to be frisky like that. So nice to have a new accessory in my collection. The very last thing I want to show you is kind of a follow-up to my last pickups video. I did pick up a magazine last month that I've got a few of, and I'd never heard of it before, but I really enjoyed it, so I decided to track down some more. I think there were 7 total issues, and I have 4 of them now. And this one is Game On USA. I think this is issue, is it 2? Yeah, this is Volume 1, Issue 2. It is a Virtua Fighter cover. It has a nice discussion with the Sega team that was putting together the Virtua Fighter arcade games at the time. I think they were about to launch Virtua Fighter 2, or maybe getting ready to do 3. I can't remember what the story said. Where this magazine is unique is it's very heavy on manga, specifically video game related themed manga. So it has an ongoing story featuring Cammy of Street Fighter, as well as a separate ongoing story featuring the cast of Samurai Showdown. So the game coverage itself is very minimal, but it is focused on Japanese-centric games that either were getting a US release or games that they thought would be cool imports to bring in from Japan. So very unique magazine, especially with how much of it is dedicated to the artwork component. But, ultimately didn't last very long, so I'm more than halfway there to the complete set, and I might try to track down some more of these. So that about does it. Like I said, overall a little bit lighter month, so I decided to talk a little bit more about some of these releases. Hopefully that's not a problem. You can let me know. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.